You know, upon reflection, having longer, I wouldn't say that 99% of scripts are garbage.
Your bio says you've read over 6,000 scripts?
Oh, yeah.
Is
I'm
that
sure many
correct?
people have read many, many more by this point. Yeah, back in the day, when you were reading then, back then, this was the height of the spec script market back in the 90s and the early 2000s. This was, you know, after Shane Black had done his magic with The Long Kiss Goodnight and Lethal Weapon and all the, you know, everyone wanted the next hot thing. And so every week, thousands, you know, our production company would get thousands, not thousands, I'm sorry, they would get tens, dozens of scripts that would come in and they had to be read. And so between that stuff that had to be read and samples that came around, between the stuff I did as a reader, where you'd be getting 5 scripts a week, 5 scripts a week. Yeah, it's about right. 5, 6 scripts a week that you'd have to turn around in a week. It adds up over time.
Why do you say that recognizing good writing is innate?
There's something about being human and present that, and especially if you watch a lot of television or film, where you kind of have a sense of what works and what doesn't. You have read books, you get a sense of flow of what good writing is, or what, you've read Huckleberry Finn, you've read Mark Twain, you've read the English Masters or whatnot. You know that feels like flow. It's evocative, and the story progresses in a way that makes you want to turn the page, or that the characters that are in the whatever it is sound like people, or are interesting. Because when you get to the screenplays and you're reading them, you can very much, just from how the writer has written on the page and how the characters sound, you can pretty much understand that this is going to be good or bad writing within the first page or two, usually the first page. And there was a time when I was home for Thanksgiving, when I had my sack of scripts that I brought home, and my sister wanted to know, well, what do you read? What do you do? So I said, well, here you go, have a look. And she took one that was just a generic, I mean, I don't want to say generic, that's awful, but some writer had written that was represented by some agency. And she started reading it, and she was having a hard time with it. She was struggling with it. The narration lines were clunky. The dialogue felt stilted. She couldn't really envision what was going on in the scripts well. And she gave up on it after about 5 or 10 pages. Okay. Then she grabbed another one from this stack. And within a few lines, she was laughing. And probably in the same amount of time that the other one she gave up in, she would about 30 pages or 40 pages into the script. She was just flicking through it really great and laughing and laughing and laughing. And that script term was American Pie. Okay? So she knew, being a complete novice, no film school training, no story theory training, no idea who Blake Snyder or Sid Field is, never read a screenplay in her life, only a casual moviegoer. And she understood that that was something that could potentially be made.
Is that her favorite movie now?
I haven't asked her in a long time, but
But that's really cool. But
yeah.
so she knew, I don't know what industry she's in, but she just knew that this one flows, this one doesn't, this one I don't even want to read it anymore.
There was an energy to the script. There was energy, I think is the right word. It was told in a very succinct way. The action lines were very succinct, yet were evocative and created an image in her mind. The comedic situations that the characters found them in were sharp and clear. The dialogue was great and was right for the time and for that script. And I think that, the writer of it set up predicament for the characters. Obviously we know the famous pie scene and of being caught, that when the dad comes in, I think the dad comes in and catches him or something in the pie. And, just the writers of that, who I can't remember their names, did a great job of having teenage innocence along with over-the-top comedy and got the balance just right. And there was something else, because I was talking about theme earlier on. What that film did well was each character had a different relationship with their first time. One character was all they were looking forward to. Another, it was, you know, they were looking at how stereotypes of teenagers means that partners that probably kids who thought they wouldn't be together then did get together once they got to know each other. But the best one was the characters who were boyfriend-girlfriend, and it ruined their relationship. That is a very deep understanding of the topic, okay? That's what I'm talking about, theme, and showing an idea from 360 point of view. My sister, in reading that, I think understood that and appreciated that on a deeper level when you see it written as opposed to when you see it on the screen.
Wow. And then there were subsequent American Pies after that.
There were many.
Obviously,
there were many.
Yeah, so she wasn't wrong in terms of, she knew that it was, there was something, you know, catching.
When her son went to band camp, it was a complete.
And his name was Stifler. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. We hear a lot of people say that 99% of screenplays are garbage, okay? So that's a common thing where, especially nowadays, we're hearing more of that. You've worked in development and you have read a lot of scripts. When people say that 99% of screenplays are garbage, you think that's really true? What is it that they're referring to? What is that that's making it seem like garbage in their eyes?
You know, upon reflection, having longer, I wouldn't say that 99% of scripts are garbage. I would say that a vast majority of them are okay. They're all right. There's something about them there are garbage ones, no doubt about that. I've read those. But there are many that are, you know, there's a character that's decent, or there's a few scenes that are well written and interesting. But on the whole of the whole thing, they don't rise above. Okay? They get to a certain level and they're okay, you know, but they're not good enough or intriguing enough to break through to something that needs to be considered to be made. So you asked me, like, you said 99% of them are garbage.
Yeah, and is that really true that it's become very fashionable right now to bash, and I don't know, maybe it was the same in the 90s when you were working in the studios and reading these things, but it feels like it's become a new thing where people are enjoying bashing things.
Well, I mean, we have social media now too.
True.
We have trolls, and we have, I remember, this is getting off tangent, but I remember we had things when we were working in development, we had things called tracking groups. I'm sure they still have them now. The idea is because you would get a bunch of friends, each one who would work or be related to a different studio. Okay, so I might have been at Paramount, and I had a friend who was at a production company at Sony, and then I had one who was at Universal, maybe one was at Lionsgate. And the point is that you're all getting different material, okay? And that you would all be, you know, you might be getting different books, or you might be getting different screenplays in from the agencies. And so you were sharing information that you could then take to your superiors, and so you just be like, hey, I understand that so-and-so agency, so-and-so writer has a new screenplay coming out, make sure that you call over there and get it. That sort of thing. Or you would do it yourself. The point is that was very analog at first, and then with advent of Web 2.0, it became the first they were called tracking boards, where it went online, where you could share chat groups, almost like kind of things. And once you had that, and those things became bigger and more people were using them, this is when the real trolls first started for screenplays, because people would just write, you know, there would be a premise that would be in this. So here, I just read this, it's really good. And then, oh my God, is that really, that's hot? That's getting traction at the studios? That really? Yeah, really? Okay, I guess we gotta get it. And then something, but yeah, or that sucked, that was horrible. I mean, I often tell my students that the comments that you might get on coverage from an agency, from a covering agency or something, is way different. How this they're much more proactive or much more constructive. That's the word, than what people say behind the scenes when they're really reading it. They really tear them apart. But to get more back to what you were saying, yeah, I think there's just so much that's okay, because the really bad stuff never really makes it past the agencies. Okay, so there's just so much that's okay that it becomes frustrating when you read week after week after week, nothing that gets you exciting. So you're kind of like have this, you get maybe a little bit jaded, a little frustrated, because your job when you work in development is to find stuff to turn into films and television series. And so when you're getting things that are just a lot of okay, or at least then, you might have this mentality of like 99% of everything is garbage, when really it's like 99% of stuff is, and that's that one that will break through that you could actually take, further down the line. It gets even more than that. I've seen like that 1 out of 100 goes even further. It's 1 out of 100 scripts gets put into development. I've heard that 1 out of 1 script get actually considered to go to pilot or to be serious development, and then 1 out of another 100 actually get made. I don't know if those percentages are the same, but that was a long-standing thought, that it was just a lot of filtering before you actually got to something like that American Pie script.
And so then the other 99% aren't necessarily garbage, as you say, they're just okay.
They're just okay.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's a fair, maybe of that 99, maybe 1% of those maybe is garbage, maybe not, who knows?
Look, the okay has a spectrum too, okay? There is the, wow, that's really, they just didn't nail, like, the act breaks don't work. Or it's a great concept, but they didn't just execute it quite well enough, and then you do have on the other end where it's just like, wow, that got represented, really? But those became fewer and far between, I think.